All systems go. Clear for liftoff. What's up, everyone? Tyler Tamboline here, a.k.a. ToeTagginTambo, back for another edition of the Thursday Night Football Showdown show here on the Mayo Media Network. Got my guys here with me as always. Hoop, Title, going to break it all down, go through the captains, talk about roster construction, ownership, go position by position, little FanDuel at the end. Do us a favor, on the way in, hit that like, make sure you're subscribed. Hoopster, the privilege of getting the new gear shipped to your house. You got the first run of it, so you got the new hoodie, the new hat, looking sharp, my friend. How's it going on this fine Thursday afternoon?
Yeah, the new apparel shipment arrived yesterday. 9 boxes sitting in the garage. I did have to hook the UPS guy up, though. I'll tell you, I gave him a free piece just because of all the extra work. He came to the front door. He's like, "I got 9 for you." I was like, "Man, let me just open up that garage." I said, "Just go ahead and drop them off in there." And he's a big sports fan, so I did give him 1 piece, and he was thrilled and a supporter of the company for sure. But yeah, I got the new hat, Travis Matthew hat. This thing fits nice and tight, man. Good fit. And then the new hoodie, feeling good, looking good. So it's a good day, man. When you're feeling good, looking good, a lot of good things happen.
Yeah, no backwards hat. Title, I'll bring you in. No new gear for us yet. It literally just arrived last night, so that's awesome to see. Bring it up after you guys can still go get it with the code MERCH10, and the first shipment will be next week. But Title, they're already talking about no more backwards hat. You mean business? No. We're back, baby. What's going on?
Yeah, never again. Never again am I wearing no backwards hat. The worst week 7, worst main slate of all time. But I'm going to be wearing this jersey, excuse me, anytime the Jets is on the slate. Pretty fun showdown game, I think, right here. We have some pieces of news. The Hockenson questionable, Puka questionable. It seemed all week like Puka wasn't going to play. Some optimism this morning. I'm still not expecting him to, though. Hockenson, I don't think plays either, but we will get all that news with inactives. Jeez, I ate some almonds before the show. Token right now, so that's not sitting well. But, yeah, excited for a pretty good game. And Jets, he's going to go off again.
I never heard this one. I like this one from Johnny. Wear your hat the direction you want your life to go. You know me, my friend. I talked about it last week. Always forwards, baby. Always up. We love to see it. All right, we got Vikings at the Rams. Could be a good back and forth. Vikings took their first L last week. There's been some crazy rumors around the trading stuff with Cup and situational stuff there. Hoop, I'll bring it in first to you just for the grand scheme overview. First thoughts on this game and what we're going to see. I'm with Title, by the way. I know we can do if-then scenarios, but it feels like Puka Nacua and TJ Hockenson, again, just a thought early on in the afternoon, but feels like they're not going to be in. So I'm going to look at it that way for right now. And obviously, if things change, we'll have it up over on the site.
Yeah, I mean, the Puka thing kind of came out of nowhere where, like, oh, he might play today. And I don't know, really no follow-up information on it. And then Hockenson, I think Hockenson probably has a more realistic chance than Puka, but we'll see. And for the sake of the show, I mean, most of the conversation is going to be, I guess, assuming both those guys are out. Obviously, everything over at SHIPIT Nation will be updated as soon as we get news. And there's a chance we don't get news on this until inactives come out, an hour and a half before the game starts. So something to monitor throughout the day. Would have a little bit of impact definitely on the slate, whether or not, if those guys do happen to play. But like I said, we'll update all our content and we'll be in the Discord discussing the impacts of those guys if they are potentially in. But it's a good, appealing game. I mean, we got 48 total, relatively close spread. Cooper Kupp coming back, which definitely makes the Rams offense way more potent, I'd say, and obviously improves the prospects for Matthew Stafford. And then on the Minnesota side, you kind of know what you're going to get. I mean, Justin Jefferson, absolute stud. Aaron Jones having a hell of a season. Sam Darnold playing really solid football, I'd say. In terms of the captain conversation, it might be a pretty narrow pool for me because I think it just might be one of those guys going off like a Justin Jefferson, Aaron Jones, Kyron Williams, Cooper Kupp. These are 2 offenses that, for the most part, like, man, it's usually one of those guys. And I guess maybe you could throw like Jordan Addison into the mix. Like, he's had some big games over the course of the last couple seasons, but It just seems like at the end of the night, it's probably going to be one of those four: Jefferson, Aaron Jones, Kyron Williams, or Cooper Kupp. So we'll discuss it all, obviously, here as we go on throughout the show.
Yeah, I'm going to talk some quarterback captains too. Both these guys can spread it around. And I'm not as scared about these other guys. Even Jefferson himself this season, 3 games now where you thought he's going to break a main slate showdown, much different, but he just gets you that 20-20, like he just capped. And so it's not like he's going to be because it's a totally different slate, but just to say it, I don't think it's got to be all him. I also think Cooper Kupp conversation's interesting because he could end up being over-owned. A lot of talk title about they have to showcase this guy. I don't think you have to showcase Cooper Kupp for any trade. People know who he is already. You don't need to showcase him. If anything, you may want to keep him healthy if your ultimate goal is to get him in there. He'll still be involved. He's back. That's exciting. But what's your thoughts just early on, grand scheme overview before we get into full-on captain talk?
The first thing that stood out, and I've seen it from multiple people around the industry, is this line was surprising. The Vikings have been so good. Seeing them at 3, and now it's 2.5 on DraftKings. So usually when I see lines that I expect to maybe be a little wider, I'm like, man, what am I missing? And I lean into like the opposite of what I initially thought. So I'm like, Vikings was like best bet out there, -3, -2.5. I circle back. I'm like, man, this feels like a big trap game. They're going on the road, coming off a tough loss against the Lions. The thing for DFS broad slate overview, we know 3-3s will be very, very popular today. I do think 4-2 Rams might be a little more popular. I think it'll be pretty close, but I like 5-1s on both sides for sure, since I think they'll both be under-owned. People want to go more balanced. What I noticed at captain, 5 captains we have like 10% and above, and then after that it seems pretty low owned. If you want to play a Jordan Addison who I have some interest in, a DeMarcus Robinson, a Tutu Atwell, all of them will be relatively low owned. It's going to be Jets. It's going to be Cooper Kupp. It's going to be both running backs. And then Sam Darnold, I think. You mentioned the quarterbacks. If you like them both, I like them both too. And I came in planning on playing them both because they both have options to spread it out a good amount. And if Jefferson does only get you like 20 points and Darnold goes for 303 touchdowns, he probably is the guy up top instead of Jefferson at half the ownership there. So I do think I'm going to be like Coop, more concentrated at captain. I will mix in like the lower owned pieces will be skill position guys like DeMarcus, like Addison, like Tutu, guys that I still think have 20-plus point upside. But I don't think I'm going to be playing like I'm not going kickers. I'm not going defenses. I'm not playing the Blake Corums, the Ty Chandlers of the world there. I'll mainly be using them in the flex. And you definitely, and we say it all the time, Showdown, you can leave money. Another slate, you definitely can leave money. And I'll be doing just that. Yeah,
I like that breakdown. A couple of things stand out. One, I'll say first off, though, people always wondered, if I like the slate, don't like the slate, I talk about it, tell you how it is. I would say this is a Goldilocks game. Not too hot, not too cold, just right. The way I think this slate would spice up a little bit is if we did get Puka Nacua in or TJ Hawkinson or something, and then it really starts to flip around and some more tough decisions can be made. Other people have already made their lineups. They could be behind on thought process or using value plays that may not be as good anymore, mixing up combinations of wide receivers that maybe they should be separating now, things like that. So definitely think there's a lot of process to this slate to see as the day goes on. We'll have you covered at SHIPIT Nation. But Hoop, I'll go back to you. The other point Title gave that I really liked was the spread. Like it does seem nuts, but I would expect to see a lot of 3-3s, a lot of 4-2s. Anywhere there's uncertainty, people will just go to the 4 on the other side and the 2 on that, not as many 5-1s and whatnot. Is there anything from that you see? Like, how do you sort of see this game going here? Because the Vikings were really good till they lost the last one. But before that, really solid.
I kind of like the Rams in the spot. It does seem like a good spot for the Rams. I mean, getting Cooper Kupp back it's massive. Like we saw obviously a lot of time has passed, but week 1 when they faced the Lions, like with Cooper Kupp in there, it was a competitive game. Like he changes the dynamic of this entire team. Kieran Williams has been good. Obviously Matthew Stafford. So I think it is a pretty good spot for the Rams. I think we do see a competitive, high-scoring game within a touchdown and probably, 50 real-life points. I think we get that tonight, which is very fun for fantasy purposes. So I'm going to be building like that. I'm going to be building a high-scoring, competitive game. That's how my teams are going to look tonight. And just one other note, I mean, I guess it might be somewhat – I don't know. It's probably still 50-50, but I think TJ Hawkinson, might end up playing. I think it's definitely more I don't want to harp on the injury stuff, but I do think every projection site has him in. So I think there's a pretty solid chance that he does indeed play.
Yeah, the news was out on him like a little earlier than the Puka stuff sort of came out of the wind, and this was a week and what are they? I think on October they activated him earlier in October, and so it was like
practice window thing. You get the 20-day practice window thing. So he's been going.
The question, and that's kind of the setup. So we'll have to wait and see on that. Our guy Kenny's in the chat earlier said onslaught Vikes, zero belief in this Rams offense. Maybe a lot of talking here too. Like our guy Nades is on it. Cup season, Newens, Cup gonna smash tonight. Love Cup, Puka smoke and mirrors. Like I said, I think a lot of people like Cup and they're excited to get him back tonight. Gerald, these are always out on my X account, so the tidbits will be up later on. But just to note that, I don't see much else in there, so we can get right into it. Tide, I'll let you kick it off because Hoop already mentioned how he's gonna be tighter at captain. You kind of echoed him. Is there anything else you want to talk about? The one I would kick your way is the Aaron Jones stuff. Really good matchup. Nursing a hamstring, they said, but I mean, he was fine. 35-yard touchdown out of the gates in that tougher matchup last time. And then also sort of splits the difference. We know that on the Viking side, the two most popular captains are going to be Sam Darnold for the price savings and Justin Jefferson. So I think Aaron Jones, a little bit interesting there as well. He'll get ownership, but it just seems like he's getting less than Darnold and less than Jefferson. Go ahead.
I love that to start it off. Aaron Jones, great out of the backfield. You saw him break it. His hand, he's always beat up. So earlier, the first half of the season and even any part of the regular season, you got to be mixing in your backup running backs and trying to limit his touches to some extent to keep him healthy in the playoffs. But he's minus 110 to score. And what I like what you said most, Justin Jefferson will probably be double his ownership, roughly 20% captain. Sam Darnold might be 10%. Aaron Jones might be 10%. So you do leverage. That's like 30% you're leveraging off the passing game. If Aaron Jones runs 2 in, he's minus 110 to score. Absolutely love starting with that. I'm going to play Justin Jefferson. He's probably going to be the highest owned captain. He'll be the highest owned captain. You guys know the drill. He's the best receiver in football. He should have a field day here. If you want to get underweight, it's a game theory. It's an ownership thing. Will not call you crazy. What I found interesting is Kyren Williams. He's minus 225 to score, which is by far the best right here. Yes, he is expensive at 11-2, but I mean, Jefferson's 11-8. So it is hard playing both of them in the same team, especially if you do captain one of them. It is possible we'll get to value you talk about. But, I mean, as much as I love Jefferson, he's 600 more. Kyren Williams has double the touchdown prop. I like Kyren Williams a lot. I like Cooper Kupp a lot too, but I think Kyren's my favorite captain with Aaron Jones. Jones because of the leveraging off. Kyren Williams, only 10%, minus 225 to score, getting all the running back touches. I'm hoping the running backs, one of those two probably are on the optimal. Give me Jefferson. I'm obviously playing Kupp. If he's coming back, I expect him showcasing. What I take out of that is I expect him to be pretty much back to his full role. I think he maybe could have played last week as well, so I'm not very worried about that. And anytime you get Kupp at 10% in captain, we know his upside. First couple weeks, he absolutely went off. So outside of them, I'll let you mainly touch on the quarterbacks. I do plan on playing both of them, and you can stack multiple pass catchers, 3 of them, maybe even 4. There's cheap options, punt tight ends and stuff I throw in with them. The last one's Jordan Addison's the main guy at 7K that I think I'll play at captain. Just a wide receiver too, across from Jefferson that has all the upside in the world. If they're double teaming Jefferson, if it's just an Addison day, why couldn't he be the highest scorer on the slate at 7K? When you do go there at captain, you can get very different, leaving chunks of money, etc. So yeah, I like DeMarcus Robinson 2-2. Maybe I'll have a couple percent of them, but the main focus for me, both running backs, both wide receiver ones, Addison, then I'll mix in quarterbacks. I do prefer Darnold.
One thing I'll say before I kick it to Hoop, just the Addison thing. I like that take. I think he needs have a big game though. Like I think he needs 2 touchdowns almost. I wasn't going to fully say it, but I think that's kind of what it's got to be. Otherwise, I think it's a high possibility we see Darnold up top. Jefferson's going to get his. He could have another pass to Aaron Jones or something like that. So if Addison has it, that's great. But it just feels like he's going to need to have the big game in order to be all the way at the top with the totals. If it was a low scoring game and you for some reason see that, then yeah, of course he can sneak in, beat Jefferson, let you fit other stuff, all those factors. But I see scoring in this one mostly. That's how I try and look at it. So I think for that actually leads me to think it's more possibly going to be a guy like Darnold spreading it around and Addison catches a piece of that. So good call out, but made me think of that. The other thing is Kenny mentioned it here, Hoop. I'll kick this one to you because I saw 2 stats today. Speaking of our guy Gerald talking about the Tambo's tidbits, it's not going to be in there. I'll give it here, but I think it's 9 touchdowns for Kyren Williams already this season. So he's been in the box a ton, hence the prop. That makes sense. Price is factored in here. He's almost 17K. We're talking captains right now, 16.8. And the other thing I saw, though, is his pass catching has actually gone down, even with injuries to all these pass catchers. But his red zone usage is massive. He has, I believe, 10 more red zone touches than the entire team combined after him. That's how often they're giving it to him in the red zone. So you talk about opportunity, ceiling, floor ceiling, all of that. Give me your thoughts on Kyren, and then give us your other captain's thoughts as we go through it here.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely running good with the touchdowns. There's no doubt about it. But it's an opportunity-based game, and he's going to continue to get those opportunities. There's a drive at the end of last game where they're using Blake Corum, and they got down to the 1, and they immediately bring Kyren in. They're not going to let anyone else finish off these drives in the end zone. It's going to be Kyren Williams. So the opportunity is going to continue to be there for him, which I think is the most important point. So, just love him because the multiple touchdown upside. Now, yes, if he doesn't continue to get these touchdowns, the fantasy scores aren't going to look that good. But, man, it doesn't look like the opportunity is going anywhere else. Cooper Kupp, Aaron Jones, Jefferson, like you talked about, those are the main 4. The quarterback conversation, I think, is interesting. Like, I don't have a ton of interest in Stafford, just because I just don't see him spreading it around. Now, if Nakua is in, all right, maybe I do consider Stafford a little bit more, because then you got Kupp and Puka, probably in the red zone. If Puka's in, I'm guessing it's going to be in these high leverage situations in the red zone, inside the 20, that sort of thing. So then maybe I would have a little more Stafford. But if Puka's out, I don't have a ton of interest in Stafford, because I think it's probably Kupp that gets there. I guess kind of Sam Darnold, the same thing. Like, if TJ Hawkinson is in, I'd probably have more interest in Sam Darnold captain teams, because there's more options in terms of where he can throw the ball, and a higher likelihood for him kind of spreading it out a little bit. So I guess I'll probably play Darnold either way, but I'll probably play more of Darnold in the captain if Hawkinson is in. And then the Jordan Addison thing, just because he's like the cheapest, I probably want to go at captain. He does have big play upside, does have multiple touchdown upside, and the teams will look a little bit different with that saving. So outside the main 4, Addison, and then, probably Darnold. Like, I got to see when I go to build, but they would be the next 2 in line for me in the captain spot.
Yeah, so just 27 minutes ago now, it says Rams wide receiver likely to play on Thursday Night Football. In a promising development for the Rams, wide receiver Puka Nacua appears on track to return for Thursday Night Football against the Minnesota Vikings. So, designated a return from IR earlier in the week. Knee seems to be progressing well. It sounds like there is a possibility he could be back here tonight, Hoop. So that would sort of go to your original point of maybe it's Stafford at low to no ownership compared to the other 4 captains in Darnold, Jones, Jefferson, and Kupp, and even Kyren. To be honest, he's probably 6th in line at that point. So any extra thoughts you want to add on that one quick?
Yeah, I mean, the reports, I don't know. It makes the game more interesting. Let's say that much. And it makes it more interesting for fantasy when we're waiting on news. A lot of time in these primetime games, I mean, this year there hasn't been a ton outside of like week 1 when Christian McCaffrey was the surprise inactive. We haven't had a lot of that this season. So
James Cook.
James Cook too. Yeah. I mean, there was some indication there, but the news is good though. It makes it, if you're on top of it, you're able to analyze it and digest it, could create a little bit of an advantage or edge. So I'm excited that there's something that we're waiting on, at this point in the day.
Yeah, just wondering if there's anything else. I couldn't find too much more, but we'll have to wait and see. But it was, interesting nonetheless, just to bring it up. If I find more, we'll have to wait and see. Someone's at 5K on FanDuel.
Yeah, I was just gonna check.
He's min price. He is.
Yeah, that makes that makes it a little interesting for sure.
I mean, DK, let's just talk quick. If he is in 10-6, like he's priced like he's normal Puka coming up, no injury. Kupp 11, Kyren 11-2, Jets 11-8. I don't know how I can click that. Large field stuff, I get it. Hoop, I don't think you're going to click it. Tambo will probably click it.
Yeah, it would have to be, it would be Stafford captain teams where 12 in the flex is good enough or something like that, where we think it's like, a non-high scoring slate would be if you're building that sort of way. But it's
hard to pay 10-6 for a guy that you want 12 from.
I know, but we've seen those slates. I brought up the Alvin Kamara thing. He was the most expensive. He got 12. He was,
You think 50's getting put on though? 12 ain't working if 50's on the board.
Well, I know, that's what I'm saying. So the way I'm doing, I probably don't get there, but it is. I mean, you're passing. I mean, if you're playing him, you're sacrificing Justin Jefferson shares. You're sacrificing Aaron Jones shares, you're sacrificing Kyron Williams, you're sacrificing Cooper Kupp shares. So he's got to outscore some of those dudes. And it's probably a fade. Yeah, no,
it's tough to get him up top, man. In the flex, maybe, but up top, no chance. Like, it's just, we'll see.
I think the only way I could envision myself playing him is a Matthew Stafford captain team. If you think it's a low scoring game, and like 12 is good enough in the flex.
Did you have a comment on this one, Hoop? This gets talked about all the time. Rams are actively making calls, trying to find a trade partner. They're going to showcase him tonight like no other if they're trying to trade him away.
That's one of those things that's just impossible. I mean, it's impossible to know. And you'd really have to go in the heads of the coaching staff and the GM and stuff like that. I mean, it's just, you just got to play him as if you think he's healthy. And I can't really build on that sort of thing.
I can go ahead.
They do it anyway. I mean, if they want to win, Stafford literally just looks at Cooper Kupp anyway. That's the offense. So
I was going to say it's the worst take in all of football. Sorry to my boy Newens. I love him. But this is the thing. That's not why. If he gets featured tonight, maybe it's a Stafford goodbye party that he wants to feature him for that. Maybe it's because they moved the offense, whatever. This just means he's going to be more owned because people believe that. Please tell me, where is the Devontae Adams trade party? Where's the DeAndre Hopkins trade party? There's no such thing because you don't need to have one. People know who Cooper Kupp is. If you're using him tonight, it's not because they're showcasing the trade. It's because Cooper Kupp's healthy. They want to win the football game. So if you want to play him, jam him in. All I'm saying is it's a very high chance he's going to be over-owned because people are using that narrative to feed that way. And there's just tons of other guys that we already talked about that you can use on the slate. I'll wait till we get closer to lock to get a better feel. We'll have it featured on the site. But I hope that it makes someone like Kyron be less owned. I hope that it makes guys like Stafford and Aaron Jones be less owned in the captain spot, all that stuff. That's where you get that it's not a tidbit though. It's just the worst narrative in all of football because there's never coming out parties for guys that have been in the league for that many years. There's a thing called a physical when they get traded. They have to pass it. So they don't even need to know if he's healthy. They just know his name. They know what they need for their team and what they're willing to trade. And if you haven't seen this season, guys are getting these dudes for like 4th round and 5th round picks. So it's not like there's some high trade priority. It's just fixing up their salary cap and everything that they got going on their side. So nothing else for me to add at captain, but title, I'll kick it back to you. Hoop kind of just gave his quarterback thoughts, waiting for news, seeing how it plays out, how that would work up top. Similar in the flex, obviously, but just your thoughts at quarterback and any other thoughts you want to add at running back.
Well, I think I told myself I just got to tail you at quarterback captain. So you're fine with both of them? 5% Stafford?
Especially if Nick was back. I thought Hoop broke it down really well there. I would prefer it more. I do agree with Hoop, obviously less Stafford, because the situation with him is when you already have guys like Kyron. Kyron could be his own. You could do a 1-5 tonight. Just talking roster construction quick. You could do a 1-5 with Kyron and 5 Vikings because Kyron could do, if those red zone opportunities pop up and it's just him and it's expensive to fit him and Kupp, etc. There's a possibility of that. So I'm more fine with the way it would get spread around like that. So it would be Stafford with a couple of guys, run it back on the other side or something like that. Darnold just fits to me because when you've got, he could check it down to Aaron Jones, tons of work to Jefferson, but it's still Jefferson's expensive to find his way all the way to the top. And we're already going to have that in our portfolio anyway. Everybody is. Addison would spread it around any of those backups. And then obviously if Hawkinson, or even if he's not, Munt can catch balls, like you could still stack him up 2 ways as well. He could run 10, 15 yards, 20 yards on the ground. That gets you another 1.5, 2 points, 3 up top in the captain at 1.5x on 2. So there's ways to get to these guys, no problem. But I think I'm going to be tighter beyond that. The one guy we didn't mention, and if you're done with, I mean, you can talk more on quarterback and running back, but I don't have a lot at running back at all. But one thing we didn't mention up top was Tutu Atwell. Obviously, this gets got a little bit if Nakua is in, as they say. And I just saw the latest one too, by the way. They did add a caveat, barring setback. So again, we'll wait for those warm-ups. Inactives, we always post them right away in our Discord, so any members will have those. But yeah, that's just another thought there. Title, go ahead.
Yeah, and especially with the quarterbacks, last thing on that, 9K for Stafford, 9.4 for Darnold. Aaron Jones is 9.6, but after that, you're paying over 1,000 more for Kupp, 2,000 more for Jefferson. So even if Jefferson, Kupp, Kyron do outscore them raw points wise, if it's still close, that Darnold and Stafford can get there. So quarterbacks still are underpriced, and I definitely made the mistake early on. I X'd too many quarterbacks captain and just jammed more skill position, and you've had me circle back. So, yeah, I'm good with both quarterbacks. Prefer Darnold there, too. Running backs, I'll mention for flex. Obviously, Aaron Jones and Kyron are great plays, but they both have very obvious backups. And when I say very obvious, like Blake Corum is the obvious backup, but, man, Kyron snap share is so good. 86% in week 5, 89 in week 7, 90 week 3, like 79 is his lowest of any of the weeks. If he is out, Blake, like if he gets hurt or somehow Blake Corum finds the box, he's plus 475. He's good leverage in a range that DeMarcus Robinson will clearly be higher owned at 3K, 600 more. And then it becomes even better if TJ Hawkinson's out because Johnny Munt at 2.8K would then be a lot more popular as the value. Corum 400 less would be a pivot right there. So feels really weird to say I like Corum more if TJ Hawkinson's out, but because a lot of ownership goes right in that range, he becomes a better pivot. And pretty much same thing you can say with Ty Chandler. Like I like Ty Chandler a lot more than Aaron Jones, or a lot more than Blake Corum, even at the price, because of Aaron Jones' hammy and just how much he's been injured in the past. But man, Aaron Jones outsnapped him. What was the snaps last week? It was a lot more surprising than I thought. 72% for Aaron Jones, 18% for Ty Chandler. CJ Ham mixed in a little bit too. I don't know, man. It's not even like he's going to be low owned because I think he's going to be higher owned than the defenses. DeMarcus will be probably a little higher owned. I don't know. I'll throw it back to you, Tam. I'll play some Ty Chandler. I don't love it, though.
Yeah, this is the one. They said Corum was going to get touches, and then it was like 97-3 or something for Kyron.
Yeah.
They just don't tell that. Like, it's always different. Some coaches do tell the truth more often than others. Good follow on X is Coach Speak Index. You can pick up some tidbits on there and whatnot. But I will say, there is something about the Kyron thing that worries me a little bit more, besides just the touchdown regression. And Hoop, maybe I'll kick it to you on this, is also if it's the short week, they're coming off, they got Kupp back, they maybe get Nakua back. There actually is reasons to take away from him, and he's 11,200 even in the flex. And I know you like that side, so you're going to already build your lineups accordingly. You're going to have some of him in captain, or you're going to have lineups with him regardless. But got to just think about some of that stuff, especially with Nakua coming back, at least, I think. What's your thoughts at the running back position?
So, yeah, obviously you got the clear plays in Jones and in Kyron. I mean, you're going to want to get them in regardless. I mean, no matter who's in or out, Hawkinson, Puka, like you're going to want to play those guys. I mean, the workload is absolutely insane. The thing I just struggle with, and again, I haven't built teams and I'll be building them after, and as well I'll be reflected in the content, is like these backup running backs, like they just haven't been needed at all. Showdown basically all season long. And, these guys are a little bit cheaper, 36 for Ty Chandler, Blake Corum, 24. But like, really, what is their upside? What are you hoping to get out of these guys? I don't know. It's like they have two guys in front of them that could play all but a few snaps during this game. And I don't know. They're still going to get owned. Like Ty Chandler's going to get some ownership. Corum's going to get a little bit. And again, at the end of the day, maybe I do get some of these guys because I need it to get more Jefferson captain stuff like that, but I don't love it. So I'm going to make sure if I do play them, it's going to be extremely capped. It's going to be under the field. Like the backup running backs just have not been needed for Showdown, and they're at a disadvantage to like the cheap wide receivers. I mean, cheap wide receiver, I mean, you get 3 catches, you kind of get 3 points. These backup running backs are coming in and getting 3 carries. Like you still have to do something. So always more times than not gonna side with like the cheap wide receivers over these cheap running backs. They just haven't been needed all season long.
Yeah. The other question, Tight, I'll kick it to you and you can take it to wide receiver, is like, even I think the Garindo slate for our boy Hebrew Cheetah, wasn't that a blowout and a Mason injury? And it still didn't get all the way to the top. It was second best lineup. So it's like you almost
I think Garindo got there in the flex. I know Rio had him. I I could be wrong, I guess, but I think he was on the winner in the flex.
Yeah, it was like one of the
round.
last plays of the game, like in a
He got the
blowout.
70 yard.
Yeah.
He'll know, but I'm almost positive Rio was going to. I apologize. Rio was going to have the third best lineup. He was happy it didn't cost him $300K, and it was like $30K because he had the third best lineup. I think he only made.
Oh, you think you're right because he had the 100-yard bonus and he had -2 yards that sent him to 99. He went from 45. Yeah,
because I was trying to. I think like Bigsby in London. But to Hoop's point, that's all I was going off of. Like, you really haven't seen it. And I love that call out that he had is like a backup wide receiver, a random wide receiver that comes in could be like a 30-yard catch for a touchdown. And you're all those points. You're 10 points just on that. Even when a backup running back comes in and just vultures a touchdown, it's 6. And then it's like, because they get nothing for the carry, they just walk it in 1 yard, 6 there and change. So it's like, that's the setup where we haven't seen 6-pointers be needed, or they get 3 carries for 30 yards. 3 points. Those catches come with yards that Hoop's talking about. If it's 3 for 30, it's 6 points for the backup wide receiver. Maybe not enough, but the point is they just rack them up quicker. So definitely think that's somewhat interesting about it. And yeah, we've already had the talk. I know some people are joining us later because we did go a half hour earlier today, but stay tuned for that part. You'll get excited when you hear it, Solid. I gave a really good take on that one. You probably heard it already. Title, wide receivers. Go ahead.
Wide receivers, easy on the Viking side. It's Jefferson, Addison, Naylor. They run any wide 3 receiver sets. It's almost all of them. Well, I mean, Jefferson's the best receiver in football. Addison, you get some leverage off of Jefferson. And, I mean, he's priced fairly. I definitely like him. Naylor, he's the one that feels most definitely overpriced. And that'll reflect in ownership. Like, he could be sub 10%. I like him more, I think, if there's no Hawkinson, because I think they'll run more 11 personnel. With Hawkinson came back, I think probably 12 personnel would be used more, and then Naylor would be off the field, so that would hurt him. But regardless, I mean, Hoop doesn't like the backup running backs, which totally makes sense. Overspending for a low-owned receiver, I think also makes sense with Naylor, and he's found the box before, so definitely makes sense in like Darnold captain teams as well. I doubt I see myself go Naylor up top. Rams side, I mean, it's interesting with Cooper Kupp coming back. Whittington also, he's out. I mean, he damn near was out last week as well. Ran a couple routes. Everyone knows the story about week 7. But with Cooper Kupp back, like everyone is just expecting, and I think probably the case is it's DeMarcus, Cooper, and Tutu in 3 receiver sets. But Cooper runs a lot of his routes out of the slot. Tyler Johnson's more of like an outside receiver. So I'm definitely going to be playing some Tyler Johnson, and I'm not convinced like it's just going to be DeMarcus, Tutu, Cooper Kupp getting 80+% of the snaps and Tyler Johnson getting pretty much nothing. I know last week was different. There wasn't Whittington, but Tyler Johnson outsnapped Tutu 91%, 78%, 50-43. Very interesting stuff, especially when you're looking at a big ownership discount. So I'll be playing 4. And again, I'm assuming Cooper Kupp or Puka's out for all this. If Puka's in, then you probably don't get to Tyler Johnson. Man, I really hope Puka's out. I would
assume he's in now with these reports, unless barring
still not
in.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm still. Was it just Tom? Was it just the one reporter? Has Schefter said anything?
No,
Is anyone else?
There's a couple people. I think it's pretty. I think it's
yeah,
50-50 at worst. Honestly, I think
he hardly. Yeah,
I
don't know. I guess I'll throw it back. Like if he plays, I don't think he's going to be close to 100%. He hardly practiced. This all came on late. Tell me if you guys think if he plays, he gets that, and then because that's huge with what to do with like a Tyler Johnson.
Well, that's what I was trying to say, and you sort of led into it there. That's perfect. Is what I'm saying is I hope he's back because I hope this report is true because then I'm still interested in those guys. I'm not gonna just leave them out of my pool now, and I hope others do because that would be the upside there. Is if people just say, well, if he's back, he must be healthy enough to play, and let's roll him. It's just he literally just got back, but they did say he was ready to come back. That's why they activated him to be ready to come, so to show up and come back to the team. So. I would just say I'm not seeing any other reports, but I see at least 2 reports about it, and the last one caveated it with barring a setback. So we'll have to wait and see what happens in warmups. But if you're already happy building with those guys anyway, which I am, then I'm not going to have to change anything with or without. I'm in good shape if he's out last second. I'm in good shape if he's in because I still think those guys are going to be involved and still be in the mix tonight. So Hoop, I don't know if you want to have anything else to add to that, but even assuming he's in, I still have interest in those guys behind him.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with what you guys have laid out at this position. The Viking side, it's very easy. Jefferson, Addison, Naylor, and I like Naylor because he's kind of an unknown, and he's priced up a little bit too at 6,200, which should keep his ownership in check. Great play for those Darnold captain teams. If you're going Darnold captain, I think Naylor is a great guy to include in there, but I'll be playing him regardless. And then on the Ram side, obviously Cooper Kupp. Nakia is going to be very difficult to click at 10-6 if he does play, but I'll be playing the other guys regardless, Tutu, Robinson, and Tyler Johnson. So I really don't have much more to add on. I kind of agree with what you guys have said so far.
All right, I'm with you. Take it into tight end then, because we talked about the Hawkinson thought, and you feel pretty comfortable with him. I think at least, you can talk if this, then that, but Parkinson on the other side, popular last week. Hawkinson, if he's in or out, and then Johnny Munt, the punt, he's in there at 2,800. Any thoughts of the tight end position?
Yeah, so I mean, these are prices that we probably need in our lineups. Like Parkinson kind of busted last week. He was popular, but at 4,400 with a lot of high-end guys, you're going to have to play some of him. And again, to me, it doesn't matter whether Puka's in or out. I'm going to have Parkinson at 4,400. The Viking side is, I guess, somewhat interesting. Hawkinson sounds like he's back. Like if Hawkinson is out, Munt probably ends up being one of the more popular plays on the slate at 2,800 by far. I mean, the very clear standout value, which we don't have a ton of right now. So if somehow Hawkinson is out, then Munt becomes very popular at 28. But if Hawkinson's in, I still have interest in Munt. So I'm kind of hoping Hawkinson's in, and then I can still play Munt. I mean, he's going to have a role. Hawkinson's not coming back to 100% snaps. There are scenarios where they use both of them. So I like Munt regardless. And then you have like a bunch of cheap dudes that you could potentially play: Oliver, Long, Allen. I want to avoid most of that stuff, to be honest with you. So these tight ends are kind of necessary. Like we need these prices in our lineups. Parkinson at 4.4, Hawkinson, probably better suited for Darnold captain teams. I don't know. It's hard to know what his workload is going to be coming back. And then I'm in on Munt regardless. If Hawkinson's in, Munt's probably a low-owned play. If Hawkinson's out, Munt's going to be very popular.
Yeah, could agree with that. And I think, the Parkinson side too, you can talk about it, just in the flex with or without a Stafford at captain, you can still use him. He's 4,400 priced right there with the kickers, I think, are 5 and 5,400 on this slate. So, something to be said for that. I don't know, Title, if you remember this from, it was either like last year or the year before. Hawkinson's going to play limited snaps. He's only going to play when we need him. And then he had 10 catches. 10 catches.
Was painful, man. I do remember that. Yeah, that was very painful. Go ahead.
What do you think about that, Title? And then any other thoughts at the tight end position?
Oh, yeah, I would take it because I'm going to play Hawk because he's sandwiched right in between both kickers. 5'4", 5K, like you mentioned. Hawk's 5'2", going to project worse than him. So it's just natural right there. You really could only need one touchdown, and that could outscore the kickers. You obviously want a little more, but yeah, I hope that's the case. And again, if he's out, Johnny Munt would be very popular value, and Josh Oliver would also be fine. I agree with a lot of what Hoop said. Like Parkinson's good on that side. Someone did ask about like thoughts on Long. There's also Davis Allen. Those guys are definitely going to be in my pool. The more teams you build, I think they should be. If you're only playing a couple, you don't necessarily need it. But I just don't see any real plays sub 1K than Hunter Long and Davis Allen. Both tight ends, they did get on the field. You can tell me if you see any other plays down there. But last week, 16 snaps for Long, 12 snaps for Allen. Is one catch or two catches enough? More slates than not, it has not been enough down here. But if Jefferson goes off for 40, Cooper Kupp gets you 30, whatever it may be, and it's a stars and scrubs and the mid-tier kind of bust, maybe that's when 2 or 3 is enough for Allen. Again, it hasn't worked on the stuff, but really, if you want cheap plays down here, it's really backup tight ends. Like, it's not Ronnie Rivers, it's not Brandon Powell, it's not Cody Schrader, it's Allen, it's Oliver, it's Long, and good luck.
Yeah, I think tonight comes all down to, which a lot of slates do, but like specifically about these punts we're talking about. Tonight's to me, it all comes down to roster construction and money left on the table. I just don't like a Davis Allen will pop and show up a little bit because he's $200. Obviously, that's more likely to make something work than a $2,800 Munt, even though we like Munt and just talked about it. But my point is, it's what you said, 16 snaps they're getting. Then they got to get a catch. Then they got to catch or two, get one that's valuable enough, and all of this. And the thing about a guy like that tonight is it only fits in the same lineup everybody else has with that same person. Like you're not necessarily going to get a unique Davis Allen lineup because a lot of them are going to fit Kupp, Kyron, Justin Jefferson, Darnold, and wherever you land. And so there's going to be enough of those combinations that it doesn't really unlock as much for me as what you might think. So I have a lot less interest in that tonight. And I'm more like on the hoop side or you mentioned it too, but like if Hawkinson's in, I'm in on him, but I would still play Munt. Even though Hawkinson's in, I'm not going to go away from it. It actually just makes him so he's probably lower owned. And I'm still going to have more interest in the kickers. People, continuously hate on it and say it ruined Showdown and all this. It's like literally the game that we play. You know how it works. You know the quality or no quality of these quarterbacks. Things break down. The defenses are good enough to stop them in areas they can kick field goals from 60 yards away now. So I'm not sure why it's so confusing and mind-blowing to everybody every slate when kickers just kick 50-yarders all day. It's what they do for a living. So I'm going to keep playing them if they're going to keep pricing this way. Same way I play quarterbacks up top. If they're not going to price them at 10,500 and 12,000 and whatever, they have the ball every possession essentially, either handing it off or throwing it. They get the most touches. It's a fantasy game. So yeah, I'm interested in these kickers still a little bit more, but I like your Hawkinson call specifically just because he splits the difference on the two kickers title. So I do kind of like that as well. The Vikings kicker is getting talked up. Newens is back with a good take all of a sudden. Yeah, he's certainly a good kicker here. So we'll give Newens his credit when it's due. Shout out to our guy BJ in the chat, man. Him and Rio, decent nights last night in the NBA streets. But, BJ, all the credit to Rio he gave for the Showdown streets. So those guys doing their job out there. Love to see that, just crushing it, doing what they do best. So that was awesome. The NBA is back. We've got you covered for everything over at SHIPIT Nation. If you guys haven't checked it out, I know a lot of these new viewers here on the Mayo Media Network. A lot of sites we posted from the account the other day charging $70 to $89 a month for NBA only. $85 a month. We're not scared to say the price. At SHIPIT Nation gets you everything. NFL, college football, PGA, NBA, NHL, MMA, NASCAR. It's got MLB Showdown. Shout out to our guy BJ doing all that for the playoffs. He won 27 grand last week on an MLB Showdown slate. His exact core was on the site. And then you also get the education courses. You also get the Discord, and you get our optimizer, Shiptimizer, for NFL, PGA, NBA, MMA, NASCAR, everything like that. So $85 a month, best deal in the industry. You don't even need a code. You go right to the site and just click the banner for $85 and you're locked in at that price. Hoop, kick it back to you. Kickers. See, kick it back to you. Kickers.
I see.
Kickers and defense. What do we got?
Yeah, so defense, I'll be kind of doing the same thing. I don't anticipate getting a ton. I'm building for there to be scoring in this game. And, defenses can still get there and scoring games. There's no doubt about it. But I don't know. Defense just not going to be big for me, and whatever I get, I get. Kicker, though, I think is interesting because I looked around at a few spots, and obviously ours as well, and we're showing relatively close ownership between both of these kickers, and I think it's probably because of the price difference. It's only 400. I don't know. So I don't understand. Is it because people like playing home kickers better? Because this Richard guy appears to be an absolute stud. Like, he has not missed all season long.
You think it's Reichard or Richard?
Yeah, maybe it is Reichard, or I don't know. Maybe someone in the chat can. I don't know. I did watch the Lions Viking game, so I should know. But yeah, I'm going Richard, so I have no idea. But 15, 16. Reichard, all right. 15, 16, 7, 12, 11. Like, so he's been double digits, 4 or 5, has not missed yet this year. Man, if the ownership is going to remain relatively close between the two, I'm going with, what are we saying, Rickard?
We're saying Will Rocket Richard. We're going back to the NHL. Will Rocket Richard. He's going to crush for us.
I love it.
I love that. Actually, our guy would know. Our guy would know. He goes, Tambo is correct.
Yeah.
So what is it?
Reichard.
All right.
Yeah.
He typed it out. Like, he probably said it out loud while he was typing. Like, we can hear him.
It's Reichard. He keeps typing it the exact same way. Who's saying Richard too? Perfect.
So Reichard, I'm hoping the ownership remains close between the two, because I'm definitely going big on our guy Reichard. I mean, hasn't missed this year. He's got a big leg, 4 or 5 double-digit fantasy point games, and the other dude, I'm definitely going to play him too. But man, again, I don't look at. You don't need to go and look at the game logs and the box scores, but I do for kickers, because I want to see, like, are they getting opportunities? 0 for 1, 0 for didn't kick one in week 5. Made 4 out of 5. So that was his one good week, 15, but that's the only time he's been over double digits all season long. So going to play both, but I have a strong preference to our guy Reichert.
Nice. I just got another screenshot here from my guy, Danny Pettiford. I'll let Kay Gould get off the hook where I'm going to screenshot this one. Tambo is correct. Another one. Man, I just keep finding them. They're setting themselves up for success here. Title, anything you want to add at kickers and Ds or anything else you want to talk about with that? If not, any other thoughts on the slate now that you sort of put all the pieces together?
We're showing 20% or less on all 4 of them. I wouldn't be surprised if kickers a little bit higher owned, but still all very fair price tags, a bunch of upside. How do we not go Riker nowadays? So after all that, so definitely in on him. And defenses are just low owned. They're pivots down there. If you don't like backup tight ends, if you don't like Blake Corum, if you don't like Ty Chandler, well, you got to save money somewhere. You're probably going to be clicking on one of those defenses then. So they'll be in the pool. I'll be playing all 4. Like usual, final thoughts. Well, I came into the show thinking Puka and TJ Hawkinson weren't going to play. Leaving the show, it sounds like, I guess the lean is they do both play. Regardless if Puka plays, I'm not going to play him in the flex or the captain unless Sean McVay literally came out and said, Puka's 100% ready to go. He's normal. If that's the case, I would lean into it at low ownership. I don't see that being the case. Hawkinson stuff, more important. Johnny Mutton would become very, very popular down there if Hawkinson does play. I like him sandwiched in between the kickers. Then the Puka stuff also, like if he's out, I feel even better about Tyler Johnson as wide receiver 4 with the other guys. But even if he's in, I will mix and match them like you said. But again, 3-3 is very popular. 4-2 both sides will get some ownership. 5-1s I will be embracing, and then always leave money on the table in Showdown.
Yeah, I like the onslaughts a little bit more tonight because it is easy just to go 4-2 or 3-3. If McVay comes out and says that, I might go the opposite. We've already established McVay is a certified liar. So maybe if he says he's 100%, I'm out. If he says Puka's probably only going to play a little bit, we're just getting him back into the swing of things, maybe boost him up. I got to play. We got a rocket ship logo. We got Will Rocket Richard. We got Will Reichard's ownership going to rocket up after this show. I might have to rocket him up right up to the captain slot hoop. And this is the guy. Put the man on the moon. What do you think?
Definitely shipping it for us tonight. I mean, we got to get Will Reichert is getting the job done for the Shipping Nation community tonight. I'm with you, man.
Nate said he's a beast. Everyone else is in on him, so yeah. I like that call. I think that's going
to be honest, I mean, just looking at it, people don't dig into kickers all that deep. They're seeing he's 5,400. They're seeing this Cardi dude at 5K, and man, if it's going to be close in ownership, give me our guy Reichert all day long.
Yeah, kicker captain works in a game like this. Yeah, I like that call, Nades. Before we get to the FanDuel thoughts real quick, just the hat you're rocking, the people are asking about it. That's this one here. It's the Travis Matthews special edition. Just got it in. It says pre-order because the stuff from pre-order just came in last night late. So Hoop will be shipping it first of the week. We've already got a ton of orders. Appreciate all the support. Everybody sort of joining in on that. The new hat, the new hoodie are both there. You can still get in on that first shipment. Just go over to the site, go under shop, merch, use the code MERCH10, MERCH10. I'll throw it in the chat here. You guys can check it out. Support us if you want. This helps us out. We just put the money right back in. We literally make very little on the sales, but we want people to have fun with it. We want the community to be able to rock the gear and represent. So get it on the act.
Yeah, your boy's going to be putting in a full day's work in the warehouse. 9 boxes of gear, ton of orders. It's going to be a good day. I'm going to be grinding in the old warehouse. I don't know, early next week. Send some pictures.
Hoop's going to be in there. He'll post the pictures out. He'll have it. You guys can use that code MERCH10. Again, no code required. If you go to the site, we're leaving this up. Monthly all access. It gets you everything. So all the stuff, we've got Shiptimizer, the optimizer for all these sports. You get all the content, main slate and showdown across the board. Best price in the business. We talk about it all the time, but the most affordable, most valuable content in the entire DFS space. This is the key. Everybody loves it. They're getting behind it. If you go to Join the Nation, it's very easy to do it. It's all access. The $99 plan, you're getting it for $85. There is better deals the longer you go. If you want just football, you can get the deal on that. You can use the code NBA15, knock down the monthly price a little bit on either. And then if you want just the data, we also have it so you can just get the projections and ownership, but you don't get the Discord, and you're missing out on a ton of the content, the stone, all the core reports, the player pools, the slate plan, the stack rankings, all of that stuff. Oh, we're busting into the next intro. All right, Hoop, anything else you want to add, or otherwise you can go to FanDuel, man?
So FanDuel, the pricing is, I'd say, much softer compared to DK. We do have Jefferson at 16K and then Kyron Williams at 15.5, but after that, it is very soft. Darnold at 14,000, that's very cheap. Aaron Jones at 12, very cheap. Cooper Kupp at 12,000, very, very cheap. So like Darnold, Jones, Kupp, I would say very underpriced. Jordan Addison at 11, so only $1,000 cheaper than Kupp and Aaron Jones. I have to imagine Jordan Addison probably doesn't get much ownership because of how closely priced he is to the next group of guys. Our guy Rocket Reichert, 8,500. Cardi's also 8,500. So another situation there where we're riding with Reichert tonight, and 8,500 for kickers, not bad. Coming down a little bit, Naylor 7,500 stands out as a cheap play. But yeah, overall, I'd just say it's much softer pricing over here than on DraftKings.
Yeah, Kenny knows. FanDuel sucks, but who crushes over there? Yep. That's my line. So yeah, it's certainly true. I don't like their format. I've been, on record plenty of times with that. But by the way, stepping it up in the NBA streets. We talked about having NBA coverage, having some fun with it so far already. I mean, that is some stuff. They've been putting some good tournaments up in the NBA streets, so definitely think that's interesting. Title, any final thoughts from you on this slate before we get out of here?
Well, FanDuel, Puka's 5K too. So talk about soft. Yeah. If Puka is in, I mean, leave chunks and chunks of salary, fade Puka, do something like that to get different. Defenses will be lower owned on FanDuel, even a wider gap from kickers. So if you want to get different there, TJ Hawkinson feels expensive if he plays 9K. If you want to lean into that. Other than that, yeah, I agree with what Hoop said. And no, final thoughts. Talked about the 5-1s if you want to get different, leaving chunks of money. But I personally, usually I don't build until actives anyway. Some weeks I do because it's pretty obvious. Today, personally, I won't be because this Hawkinson Puka stuff is very, very important. But if you think they both play, build like that. You can always adjust. Tambo always takes the Discord when inactives are out, which is very helpful. I appreciate that, Tambo. Yeah,
of course. This is interesting. Justin coming in with the goods, man. Nothing about this guy. Oh, captain, man. This guy's been hanging out with Sidney Sweeney. Man, this guy's really getting the job done. So let's see if he can do it again tonight. We'll talk about that more over in the Discord. We'll have it up on the site with all the content that goes up, putting him with, what do we have? We've got it all covered for you here. We'll have the projections and ownership. We'll have the stone. We'll have the core report, which is going to be Hoop, myself, title for cash, and then our guy Scarface as well. Nades puts his stuff up. Sometimes Rio comes through in the clutch. Bunch of members, sharp members, was putting stuff up in the Discord. Hoop's player pool, my slate plan. We'll have you guys covered for everything and more when it comes to Showdown. If you want to check out the course, you can check it out on the site. Just put your email in, get the first lesson sent to you. This is a good way to get involved if you are looking to get better at DFS and step your game up. Hoop, final thoughts on this slate before we get out of here.
Yeah, one final thing that I was just thinking about. So if Puka's in and TJ Hawkinson, I mean, we don't have a ton of stable value. Now, we had talked about it at wide receiver where, we're fine still playing those Rams cheap wide receivers, but there's a lot of risk there. So maybe like these high-end captain guys like Jefferson and Kupp, their ownership comes down because there's really not a ton of value. So it's one thing to note going into tonight and going into roster construction, but it does make it more interesting and provides a potential edge, definitely. So excited for this game, and obviously, like we always talk about, we get our content up nice and early so you're able to digest it and get in the Discord and ask any additional questions that you may have.
Yep, that's the plan. It's going to be good. Shout out to our guy, Steven Neighbors. I meant to bring him up earlier. He's excited for his gear as well on the way, so appreciate you. Lots of good stuff going over at the Nation. Check us out, shipitnation.com. That's going to do it for this one, guys. For Hoop, Title, and for myself, ToeTagginTambo, let's ship it!